time like I am doing 5 signs, make sure each time that you've got all the correct letters, because if you're dyeing them, it's easy for one piece to get lost. I know I've had one turn up in the rubbish, I've had to go find it. So again, I'll emphasise, mark the underside, always mark the top. Even the letters that I can't do upside down like a G, I always mark the top. It's easier to mark them all than to miss one. I like to use a paintbrush when dyeing. I actually find I get a more even coverage, it's a faster job, and even though it looks like I'm wasting a lot of dye, I actually find my dye goes a lot further. The edges, of course, I just use one of these little puffball things and I do a second coat of dye, and it just turns out perfect. Of course, you don't have to dye your leather. You can use a ready dyed leather or a waxed leather. I leave all my pieces for about a day, and then I come back and I do Resolene on them. Quick cover of Resolene, then I come and do all the edges with coconut. Now that's a bit tricky. That's another thing. You have to, use extra tools. I use a knitting needle, double-pointed knitting needle. They're lovely and smooth, and they're really good for getting in between all the corners. Do your edges. It makes a huge difference. I also do a quick coating on top of each letter with the coconut as well. Give it that nice shine. A little bit of extra effort goes a long way. How nice have these letters turned out. Fantastic. Fair bit of work, but they turned out looking fantastic. Next step is just to sew all your letters or numbers or words, whichever you do, onto your front piece. Remembering to match up the top marks. Each letter should have a mark on it on the top. So if you've got an I or an S, make sure you do put it up the right way. The last thing you want to do is unpick it. Even though I've tried my best to put all the holes evenly around each letter, it's impossible sometimes with the shape. So you really do need to know which is the top and which is the bottom. I'm using a yellow thread for this sign, but my other sign I did in multicolours, which came out fine. But that was mainly to work out what colour I actually wanted to do all my signs. So sometimes choosing the colour of your thread is a bigger decision than anything else. Gluing the cardboard to your back piece is really important. Get that done before you even start the stitching. I didn't video it when I should have, but I'm just saying that now. Glue it and let it set, and then you're ready to stitch the back piece onto this front piece. What I'm doing now is just a few stitches in 3 of the corners. I just find that holds the 2 pieces together, and I get a much tidier edge, and it really works. I have no problems having 20 needles with random threads on them. I just use those. I don't thread the needle and do that. I just use scraps, and it's a great way of using up scraps. I used to use the little pin clips, but I find that they actually did leave marks or they fell off. These stitches hold it a lot closer and give it a much better finish. I also found the pin clip things often got in the way and my threads would get caught on them, and it was a little bit frustrating. Doing it this way, I actually find that everything's so much more smoother, and I actually find it much easier to get a tidy edge because those pin clips were always a little bit loose. Now it's time to stitch around the edge, which is a long process with a long thread to start with, and to do the eyelets. Here I go. I'll just let you watch the video for this part. You don't need me talking, but it is basically stitch around, and it takes a while. I start with a long thread that is 3 times the measurement around. Normally I do 3 times and a bit, because this is quite a big round. 3 times is plenty, and I have left over. I do have a stitching pony, but I'm too lazy to set it up, and I actually find setting it in between my knees works really well. That way I can move it quickly, and there's no twisting this screw and twisting that screw. My knees work really well. I don't mind, so I often do it like this. I'm obviously very proud of this one because here I am showing it off. Right, get your eyelets in, whatever you choose to do, whether it's just burnish the edges or put eyelets in, now's the time to do it, and then do all your edges. Get those edges nice, give them a good rub, toconol, and get a good shine, and then your sign is finished and it'll look fantastic. Thanks again for watching another one of my videos, but if it's the first time, I hope you enjoyed it, and I really appreciate all the support I've been getting. Until next time, I hope you enjoy. Cheers!